Every person in your life who told you to work hard and things will fall into place, they were running a broken program, and without knowing it, they passed it directly to you. Right now, there's a version of you that already knows what today looks like before it starts. Not because it was planned, because it was programmed. The same numbers in the account, the same delayed decisions, the same low-grade frustration that something is supposed to be different by now and it still isn't. You've watched the videos, read the books, maybe even tried the 5 a.m. routine for a week before reality reclaimed its schedule, and still, nothing fundamentally moves. Here's what no one is telling you: you don't have a discipline problem, you don't have a motivation problem, you have a code problem, and the dangerous part, you didn't write it. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the exact formula that separates the people who actually dominate their financial destiny from the ones who spend their entire lives optimizing a program they never chose to run. And I'm saving the most important piece for the end, because once you see it, everything before it clicks into place. Here's the thing about code: it doesn't ask for your permission, it just runs. Every financial decision you made this week, what you bought, what you avoided, what you told yourself you'd start eventually, none of it came from pure free will. It came from a script, a pattern of behavior installed so deep it feels like personality, feels like identity, feels like you. Behavioral economists call it default architecture. Neuroscientists call it the brain's dominant predictive loop. I call it the factory settings problem. And here's why it matters for your financial destiny specifically. The default program running inside most people was never designed to build wealth. It was engineered, quietly, invisibly, to maintain comfort, minimize perceived risk, stay inside the fence of what's familiar. Every day that program runs unchallenged, the gap between where you are and where you're capable of being gets wider, not slower, wider, and it compounds the same way interest compounds, except in reverse. Think about the last time you made a financial decision that felt right in the moment and wrong a week later. The money that left before the investment was considered, the income opportunity that got filed under not the right time, the extra month of waiting for perfect conditions that quietly turned into 6. That wasn't weakness, that was your code executing exactly as programmed. The Stoics spent centuries dissecting this, and Marcus Aurelius, an emperor with more external power than almost any human in history, wrote obsessively about one thing: that the only empire worth conquering is the one inside your own mind. He called it the ruling faculty, the part of you that either drives the chariot or gets dragged behind it. The reason most people never achieve financial freedom isn't a shortage of intelligence or opportunity. It's that their ruling faculty has been outsourced to inherited fear, to social comparison, to a family narrative that said money is either lucky or dirty, never earned deliberately. Here's what shifts everything. The formula for dominating your financial destiny is not about stacking more motivation on top of corrupted code. That's like downloading a new app onto a phone with a broken operating system. It crashes every time. The formula begins with one ruthless step: identifying what code is actually running underneath every decision you make. Most people believe their financial situation is a direct result of their actions. It isn't. Your actions are a result of your beliefs. Your beliefs are the product of your environment, and your environment was built by people who were also executing their own inherited programs without ever questioning the source. This is the loop that nobody names clearly, and it's exactly why financial cycles are so hard to break. Not because the system is designed against you, not because the opportunities aren't real, but because the program passes down, silently, through what your household said about people who made real money, through what school taught you about what someone like you could reasonably expect, through the assumptions you absorbed before you were old enough to interrogate them. Wealthy people don't have better luck, they're running a fundamentally different operating system. And here's the thing that changes the trajectory of this entire conversation: an operating system can be rewritten, but only after you stop pretending the current one doesn't exist. So what's actually in the formula? What are the specific variables? This is precisely where most financial content fails. It hands you habits without giving you the architecture behind them. Wake up earlier, read more, save 20%. These aren't wrong, but applied to corrupted code, they generate friction without traction. You work harder, you see no movement, and you blame yourself instead of the program. The first variable is radical self-audit. Not journaling, not reflection. a cold, engineering-style analysis of your financial behaviors with the same detachment a programmer brings to finding a bug. Where exactly is the logic failing? Where does the pattern loop without resolution? Most people who do this honestly discover three things. They avoid financial clarity because clarity creates accountability. They use spending to regulate emotional states rather than build assets. And they delay income creation because the factory setting defines stability as staying small, even when that stability is just slow loss in disguise. The second variable is what I call input architecture. You become what you consistently consume, not just food, not just content, but belief systems in motion. The people you're around are either expanding your financial ceiling or silently reinforcing the old one. This isn't a directive to isolate yourself. It's a recognition that proximity to certain patterns of thinking is either upgrading your code or preserving the version that's keeping you stuck. There is no neutral position. And here's where it gets genuinely uncomfortable, because the hardest part of this formula has nothing to do with financial knowledge. It's the identity shift, and identity doesn't yield quietly. There will be a moment, and if you're serious about this, you'll feel it clearly when it arrives, where doing the right thing financially will feel wrong, where choosing discipline over impulse will feel like deprivation instead of strategy, where investing time into building wealth will feel somehow selfish, where your own mind will mobilize against you not because you're weak, but because the old code has one primary directive: protect the current state. That resistance isn't your enemy. That resistance is the evidence that something real is actually changing. Most people exit at that exact point. They read the discomfort as a signal to stop. The formula says the opposite. The formula says that discomfort is the door and walking through it is the third variable. Here is the variable most people miss entirely, the one that makes every other piece compound rather than cancel. It's not the savings rate, not the investment vehicle, not the side income stream. It's the decision to own the result completely, without exception and without an exit clause. Epictetus, a man who was literally born into slavery and died as one of the most respected thinkers in Rome, said this: "Some things are within our power, others are not. Within our power are our judgments, our decisions, our responses. Outside it are outcomes we cannot directly control." The formula demands a radical reallocation of energy toward that first category, not out of passivity, but out of the most aggressive form of ownership that exists. When someone actually commits to this, not as a concept they find interesting, but as a daily execution standard, the financial reality around them begins to reorganize. Not because the universe rewarded belief, because decision quality improves, because time and money stop leaking through the cracks of avoidance, because the machine, finally running the right program, starts producing different outputs. This is not motivation, this is engineering. The formula is not a secret, it never was. Audit the code running your financial decisions. Architect the inputs feeding it. Walk through the identity discomfort instead of retreating from it. Own every output without negotiation. The people who dominate their financial destiny aren't extraordinary. They are simply the ones who stopped expecting factory settings to produce a custom result. You now know that the default program was never designed to build the life you're capable of. You know that motivation applied on top of broken architecture collapses every time. You know that the resistance you feel when change gets real is not a stop sign, it is the entry point. The question now isn't whether you have the formula. You do. The question is whether you'll use it or close this video, carry the feeling of insight for a few hours, and then return to the exact program that was running before you hit play. Because that decision right there in this moment is the formula in action. What does your code say?